Welcome to Latina in America, your bilingual destination for all things Latina about our diverse culture, professions, and passion to travel. I am Rosie. Our special guests will share their career journeys and will take us to amazing places around the world. On some episodes, they will take you on those journeys in Spanish. Así es, en español. So come on and join me. Let's learn and travel. Today we have the good fortune of having Lorena Legarreta here in our new show. She is an entrepreneur, a community builder, and a Latina in America. So Lorena, welcome back to our conversation because you were with us on Life 100 podcast that you share your journey with this amazing community you built called Dish and Dames. Can you briefly tell me about this community and what purpose it serves?
Rosie, first and foremost, muchísimas gracias por tenerme aquí contigo hoy para hablar sobre todo esto. I am so proud and excited for you, for the new podcast that you're starting. And I thank you for including me in this. So thank you so much y felicidades. Just talking about Dishing Dames and a little bit about what I've created, the community is actually focused on the food and beverage industry. Women in the hospitality industry, we celebrate their stories. We share their experiences. One of my main focuses with Dishing Dames has always been to increase representation of women in our industry. We've wanted to highlight it in all the different positions that they have held in hospitality. Everything from mixologists to chefs to owners, wine connoisseurs or sommeliers, wine makers. Because I noticed, being in the industry myself, is that I would look for women that are out there that are doing this, mentors for the leaders in this industry. And it was always so hard to find them. So with Dishing Dames, we highlight women in those positions and invite other people and other women as they are starting out in this industry to look at these women as mentors, as leaders, to see what is possible. And hopefully they see this and they know that they can do this too.
All about the possibilities and what a beautiful community you have built. I'm going to include how you can access all the information in the show notes because it's such a learning experience and to be aware of everything available that women are doing in this amazing industry. And talking about women doing amazing things, let's go to your story. What is your heritage? What is your cultural identity?
I was born in El Paso and raised along the Texas border. And as I look at this and I look back on my life, I really consider myself a multigenerational Texan, celebrating both American and Mexican traditions and culture. As I mentioned, I was born in El Paso, but I grew up in Brownsville. So I've had an incredible opportunity to learn and live the Texas-Mexican border and really celebrating both cultures and both traditions together. So that's who I consider myself.
Yes, and how was it living close to the border when you were there? How was that experience for you?
For me, growing up along the border, I really enjoyed it. It really touched to my culture, it touched to my heritage. I was surrounded by people who looked like me, who spoke like me, who shared all the same traditions. It was something that was very supportive, and I really enjoyed living that life. It gave me a very strong foundation as to who I am as a Hispanic woman, as a Latina in this world. I could see myself in everyone I saw living around me.
Yes, what an experience. And that builds so many wonderful memories that we have with us for our entire lives and that shape what we eventually do. As far as memories growing up, can you tell us one of your favorite memories?
I will. You know, we talk about heritage, we talk about culture. My favorite memories have always been with my grandma. She's no longer with us, unfortunately, but, I have such incredible, wonderful memories. And they've always been around food. She was an amazing cook. She actually had a restaurant in El Paso, and allí cocinaba de todo.
De todo.
Lo más riquísimo, ¿verdad? Pero to have her and to see her do that, I can still remember her in the kitchen cooking and tasting the food, the smells, the aromas. Then she was abuelita, and she was very feisty, so it had to be one of those things that her way or no way.
Exactly. That's the only way, right? That's the only way. I remember on my side how we got together, especially during the holiday season, and we put together these wonderful dishes like pasteles and things like that. What kind of a dish do you remember she doing? How was the setup in the kitchen? Like, what was the aroma? What were you doing? Like, observing from afar? How was that experience of seeing her preparing all this food that she did with a lot of love and passion as well?
I will say this, one specific memory that I have always. So she would make arroz con leche. That was one of my favorite dishes that she'd make, was arroz con leche. And I remember that she would let it simmer. After it was done, she would say, it needs to cool down. I have to put it here in the pot. Don't touch it. And we would go into maybe the den to go play games or go do something else. And then she would tell me, Lorena, go check on the arroz con leche. A ver si está listo. So I go into the kitchen and I open the pot and then I take a big scoop and I eat it, right? And then I come back out and no, todavía no está lista, ¿verdad? Todavía le falta. And he goes, todavía, sí, todavía le falta. So then we wait a few more minutes and go, a ver si ya está lista. And so I go back in the kitchen and eat some more. And I come back out and tell her, no, todavía no está lista. But the whole time I was eating, the arroz con leche. And so she was like, Lorena, ya deja de comerte el arroz con leche. Es para todos, no es solamente para ti, ¿verdad?
Sí, hombre, hay que compartir, hay que compartir.
So much fun. Sí, con todos. Me decían, no, es para todos, no, pues solamente para ti, Lorena, por favor, está listo, no está listo. But finally she'd get up and she'd go check and she'd see that I was eating and she'd be like, ay, Lorena, me encanta. And so memories like that I have. But, as far as the setup of the kitchen, I mean, I can remember she had all these pots on the stove always cooking. I could smell just the richness of the food she was making. You could smell the saltiness. One of my other favorite dishes was always the milanesa. You had those delicious flavors, the smells in the kitchen, just her and her apron. She had a very specific apron that she wore, and I can still see it today. It would go across her shoulders and tie in the back. And she always wore it. And it's one of those memories that I have. In fact, my sister and I were just talking about we need to get aprons, just like that. Necesitamos un delantal así como de abuelita, ¿verdad?
Yes, and during all that celebration, there was music playing at the time or not?
She didn't have music in the kitchen, no. Because she was always talking, and she was always telling stories, and she was always talking about the food. She was always talking about what kind of food she was making, and where was this, and set the table, and do this, and do that. And so it was just the conversation that never stopped because my aunts were always around and they were always in there in the kitchen with her as well. So the whole family was always talking and just conversation.
Yes, so, the whole family. Yes, that brings so many memories on my side too, because my goodness, when we get together, that's enough music. But sometimes we have music and sometimes it's just our voices with everything that's going on at the same time. And somehow we understand each other. It could be 5 people talking at the same time, but we understand what everybody said.
And Rosie, there's probably 5 different conversations and everyone knows exactly what's happening in all the 5 conversations.
Así es.
Todos hablando.
Todos hablando. Y entonces, did you go to school in that area or did you go to school in another area in Texas?
So I went to school in Brownsville. I went to junior high and most of high school in Brownsville. And then the summer of my sophomore year, we actually moved to Sacramento, California. And I finished my high school in California.
Oh, wow. That is a big change as far as adapting to new people. You probably didn't know all of them. So that was pretty drastic, wasn't it?
It was a difficult transition in the beginning, but I will be honest. When I got to California, obviously the majority of people that I saw over there were not Hispanic. Mm-hmm. They were not Latinas, they were not Latinos. But I will say this, the foundation I was given in growing up in the valley and growing up along the border, it didn't make a difference to me because I felt like I am who I am.
Yes.
And even though it was a difficult transition in the sense that things were different, for instance, you couldn't find the same groceries as you could in a Hispanic market. You couldn't find that. It was very different. Because I remember one particular time we bought some chorizo, or what was supposed to be chorizo, and we put it into the pan to cook it. And it was not meaty. And when we buy it here in Texas, it's very meaty. When we bought it in California, it was more grease. And so it just kind of dissolved into the pan. And my parents were looking at this going like, what is this? This is not chorizo. No, it's chorizo. ¿Qué vamos a hacer? But, you had those differences. You had those changes. And at the same time, I think it makes you realize and really appreciate what you've had. And at the same time, it gives you that opportunity to learn a different culture.
It's being open-minded and welcoming new experiences, right? And see what we have and we can make it work. And during that transition from Texas to California, and then you graduated from high school, was there something there that sparked this journey in your career?
It's very interesting that you mentioned this because throughout my life, I looked back and thought, well, what is it that I really want to do? Because how do you really define, entrepreneur? Where do you find those qualities? What do you look for, right, when you're in high school or going to college? But the reality, Rosa, for me was that what I was really looking for was actually something in the hospitality industry. That's what really was sparking my interest. I didn't know it at the time, but what I really enjoyed was the event planning part, the cooking part, the hosting people part. That's what I was really looking for. That's what I really called my attention. And it wasn't until later when I was in college that I realized, okay, this is partly management. This is event planning. This is the hospitality industry. This is what I really want to go into. But at the time, I didn't know what that was. All I did know was that I really enjoyed those times with my family, with friends, being able to put things together, putting events together, putting parties together, putting even dinners together. That's really what I was really enjoying. And that's what I ultimately was searching for.
This is phenomenal. And now let's take a few seconds for a word from our sponsor. This episode is brought to you by our parent show, Life 100 Podcast, as seen on Oprah Daily, where we talk everything about life in English, in Spanish, and also in Spanglish. You can listen at life100podcast.com or on your favorite platform. And now, back to Latina in America with our guest, Lorena. Yes, and how was that transition when you went to college and you study, I think it was computer sciences. What skill did you take from that you apply to what you're doing now?
It's been a crazy path that I've been on, but you're right. My degree, my bachelor's, I have a bachelor's in computer information systems and marketing. And I also have a culinary degree, and then I have an MBA in entrepreneurship. But when I went through this, initially, I really loved technology, and I started off with that. But it was so interesting to me that coupled with the marketing part is what I was able to take with me forward. Just because the technology part has been so helpful to know how to run applications, how to put together my website, how to actually make everything that we do for the digital content that we put together for now for Dishing Dames. That is what I've been able to take with me and bring with me all along my journey. That's always been a big part of it, whether it's building spreadsheets, learn how to do pivot tables and things like that, to putting, like I said, putting the websites together, learning social media. It's always been in me, and it's something that I've carried with me.
Yeah, because whatever we learn is transferable one way or the other, right? We find ways to make it transfer, and sometimes without those experiences, we don't even know how to be able to master or at least start trying new things. What was your first job? And from there, what other things happened to what you're doing right now?
My very first job ever, I actually went to work as an HR assistant, a human resources assistant, when I was in high school. A friend of ours had a company, and they needed someone to come help during the summers. And so I did. I went in and I said, I can do this. I can help. And so I would file paperwork, and I'd help give out paychecks back then and keep track of our employees and things like that. And I look back now because in the moment you don't know what that's going to lead to. But it was something that I was learning, was how to deal with people, how to really put that management part, the business aspect. That part of being an entrepreneur that's so important in any business that you start is learning how to deal and work with people, because your number one resource is human resources, the people that are working with you and for you. Yeah, and so that was something that from an early age I was learning, and I was able to carry that on with every job that I did.
Every single one, because it's one thing to read it in books, and another thing is also to experience it yourself, because there is nothing like practical knowledge that you can apply that to other things. And now you build this community, and what is new for you? What is happening right now with Lorena Legarreta and her professional journey?
But we're working on a brand new concept, and it's an ice cream sandwich concept. It's a totally different take from Dishing Dames, but called Chunkers Ice Cream Sammies. This is a small batch creamery making uniquely flavored ice cream sandwiches that have kind of center flavor bombs in it. That's coming in October, so keep an eye out for that. We'll be over at ACL both weekends, and then you'll get to check us out also at the Awesome Food and Wine Festival. So yeah, so we're launching that as well. That's exciting, and it's a lot of work, but it's something that I'm excited to put out there and to share with people.
Yes, it is exciting. I mean, ACL, Austin City Limits, and then the festival. Those are big events, local events in Austin, but it has reached worldwide. There are people from all over the world coming to these events. That is very unique. I'm looking forward to that. Because that is unique. I'm just listening to it. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is phenomenal. This is genius. So I'm excited about that. Eso va a estar riquísimo. Eso lo sé yo. Riquísimo.
Sí. El helado está pero riquísimo, de veras. Apenitas el otro día hicimos uno que es White Russian, como la bebida. Y salió, pero perfecto, de veras. No por nada, no porque es mi compañía, pero el helado que estamos haciendo está, pero riquísimo, de veras. Y espero que un día pronto lo vayas a poder probar, Rosy.
Pues claro que sí, aquí yo estoy voluntaria 100% all the time. Ahora mismo, right now I'm in Orlando, but I'm gonna back in Texas on a frequent basis, so definitely we need to get together because this flavor that you just mentioned, and what other flavors are available at this time or you might be thinking about?
So some of the basic flavors that we're creating, one of our originals is the ice cream sandwich itself is called the Monster. And it's 2 chocolate chip cookies, and it is loaded with what we consider our cookie milk ice cream. So it is like as if you are tasting the ice cream itself. It's as if you have dunked some cookies in milk and you're tasting that chocolatey brown sugar kind of flavor. And it is a center flavor bomb is actually cookie dough pieces in the center of that. So, and then it's of course in honor of the Cookie Monster, it is bright blue and rolled in blue sprinkles. So that's one of our original flavors. A couple of the other ones that we also have is the lemon meringue one, which is lemon cookies, and it has a lemon. It's as if you're eating a lemon meringue pie ice cream. The center is actually a fluff meringue in the middle, and then it's rolled in those delicious graham cracker crumbs as if you're eating a pie. So it's an amazing flavor. I love the combination. It's one of my favorites, absolutely. Then, of course, we have the fun ones like Fruity Pebbles. And then we have another one that's what we call the Snack Attack, which is buttered popcorn ice cream with M&M cookies. And then there's mini M&Ms in the middle for that sweet and salty flavor, like you're going to the movies and having the M&Ms kind of poured over your buttered popcorn and having that sweet and salty kind of taste.
Well, I am ready. I'm ready for every single one of them because they son fantastic. Eso oye, está buenísimo. Y como sabemos, we're trying new things. We're trying new technology. We're trying new ways to do things. In your experience as starting these communities, all these businesses and everything that you do, what are the things that you have to overcome? What are the things that you didn't succeed at the beginning, that you have failed? And how do you use that information to move forward and apply into new ventures and overcome all those obstacles?
You know, Rosie, this is a great question because oftentimes as an entrepreneur, you start many businesses. And in the beginning, when starting a business that maybe I wasn't very successful at, but one of the things I took away from that is that to do your research, to do your homework. At the time when starting something that I haven't done my research for, that's ultimately why it did not succeed. But one of the key things is to always do your homework. Know what you're going to get into. We all have wonderful ideas. But the truth is that you have to put a little bit of education behind you. Is it going to be cost effective? Can you make it something that is going to make you money, make you a profit? And that's where the research comes in. The other thing I've learned is to ask questions. Ask all the questions. Reach out to other entrepreneurs. I cannot begin to tell you what a blessing I've had in the sense of this community that I've created and the communities that I've been involved with in being able to ask people questions and them sharing their knowledge.
What is a day like when you start a new venture? For someone who wanted to start something new, either a community builder or someone launching a new product?
You have to be able to have, number one, a vision. You have to have a vision. You have to put it down on paper. If you're creating a product, you're looking to make sure that the market that you're going to go into, that there is a need for your product. That's the first thing you want to do. You want to make sure that that's there. Now, a day in my profession is a little crazy because I have so much going on, but one thing that keeps me grounded is a great schedule. Great schedule, good communication, and surrounding yourself with really amazing people that are there to help you and to go ahead and to really, again, guide you in where you're going to go next.
This is amazing. And talking about experiences is talking about travel. Let me ask you, either the way that you grew up with your culture and your family or your profession was something that kind of sparked this desire or this joy of traveling in your case?
So, Rosie, I have always loved traveling. I've enjoyed it all my life. And as I mentioned, throughout my life, we've moved to different places, experienced different places, different cultures, different states, different countries. When I lived in Mexico City, I loved it. It was a wonderful experience. I tell anybody who can do it to go live for a little while, overseas somewhere, do it. Because one of the experiences that I had was this. In Mexico City, every weekend we could go to a different town, and every town had their own specialty. Había un lugar donde hacían cosas de barro. Me acuerdo de Chinconcuat, hacían blankets and sweaters and everything of wool. They would do all these things. You had a place, San Mateo de Atenco, that was all about making leather goods. And so every weekend was a different adventure to go and experience these artisans there making, sharing their crafts with you. And the stories, it was amazing. And so I encourage anyone and everyone to travel and to go and experience other countries, other cities, other states. Just recently we drove up to Nashville and got to see Memphis, got to see Little Rock, got to experience Memphis the way a local would. It was great. It was wonderful.
Now that we know about your heritage and your profession and your travel, as a Latina in America, if you go back and give your 18-year-old self one piece of advice, what would that be?
Well, going back and giving myself advice, I would want to tell myself to be strong and to know that everything is going to be okay. I think that too often as a Latina, you feel out of place. Sometimes you feel like you're the only one. And one of the things is that we need to know that we are strong women and we're not alone. We're together. There's more Latinas out there. There's so many more women out there to help and support, and you're not alone. Be strong. And know that you can do whatever you put your mind to. These are the things I think I would tell myself back then. It's great being Latina. It is a superhuman power. You do everything biculturally. This is your strength. And I would probably give that advice to myself.
It is so great to spend this time with you. I am so inspired and so moved. What will be the best place to get in touch with you so that we can reach you and learn more about what you do?
Absolutely. I encourage anyone who has questions or would just like to reach out. It's info@dishinggames.com. And Rosie, I'm happy to, if anyone ever has questions, whether it's in the dishing and games world or the digital content world, or if anyone's interested in ice cream or food businesses, reach out to me. I'm happy to have that conversation and to guide anyone who'd like some guidance or just wants to have a conversation with me. I'm happy to.
Thank you so much, Lorena. Thank you so much for bringing all your knowledge, your experiences. And I can't wait to see this new venture that you have in ACL, in the Food and Wine Festival, in all the places. So congratulations on this new journey. And thank you for bringing all that passion forward so that we can benefit for now and in the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rosie. You're amazing, and keep up the amazing work you're doing. I am so proud of everything you're accomplishing. So thank you so much for including me.
Gracias, Lorena. Gracias de corazón. What a great way to conclude this episode. I am inspired by Lorena's journey, and I look forward to hear from you about the uniqueness of your culture, about your profession and passion to travel. Thanks for finding and subscribing to Latina in America. If you like this episode, give us a 5-star review so we can be put on front of more listeners. For details and show notes and how you can connect with and support our guests, please go to latinainamericapodcast.com. Email us at latinainamericapodcast@gmail.com and follow us on Instagram at Latina in America. Links can be found on the website. This has been Rosie, a Latina in America.